Mr. Gurnani was saying, the number of reels that we'll be populating across our social media platforms and, of course, all over across the India Today group. Can we have the first video, please?
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
All right, I promise you this is not AI generated. Very quickly, before we do get this going, because I promise you it's going to be worth it. I asked you earlier, how many of y'all have used AI for ChatGPT or Google Gemini? How many of y'all have used it to generate an image? Quick show of hands. Fantastic. It should be AI labeled, I hope. How many of y'all have used it to generate a video or one? Okay, wow. I'm feeling not as tech savvy as everyone here in the audience. What if I told you that there are artists around the world and tech companies around the world who are trying to do just that? And more importantly, we have 4 of them here in this room. We have 4 of them here in this room who are powering that revolution, along with the guys at Flam as well, who've done the cool stuff on the QR codes. I'm going to try one last time, because the one thing I've learned covering technology over these years is that it can't always be trusted, but we're going to try one last time with the video. Okay. Abhishek Razdan, why don't you join me on stage while we get this going together? Co-founder and CEO at Avtr Meta Labs, our first guest for this session. Please have a seat. We also have with us Prateek Arora, an AI artist. A huge round of applause. Fabin Rasheed, artist and digital art consultant, joining us all the way from Dubai. A huge round of applause, please. And Dipankar Mukherjee, director and CEO at Studio Blo. A huge round of applause. Oh. Okay, you know what, when we do get those videos going, we might have to do that as our closing comments, boys. But the reason I was saying this is that often you see a lot of us using these iPads and a lot of these tablets for art. But y'all are doing some of the coolest things when it comes to using AI and tech for art. Dipankar, what I find fascinating is that you are putting a lot of us in the creative world out of a job because you create the most genuine videos, and I'll show you a clip of it, where you don't need a cameraman. And all the cameramen are angry over there because you managed to do all of this much before OpenAI and the others come up with Sora. And then you also managed to put a dash of a human touch there. How does it work at Studio Blo?
Hey, thanks. Very glad to be here. So number one, you're completely wrong. Humans don't need to fear us. We are a very human company. The only people who should possibly hate us are camera manufacturers, right? Because we believe that AI replaces the camera and not the people behind it. And therefore, we bring in cinematographers, cameramen, editors, production designers to come together and work with our AI technologists, our scriptwriters, etc., to create cinematic videos, ad films, music videos, create photorealistic content for automobile companies, fashion houses, etc. And we are going global. We have our content out there to consume everyone. We've started about a year back. The first real big piece of content was for Aaj Tak with the national anthem.
Super. You know, the stuff I was trying to show you earlier, and I promise you I will, maybe at the end of this session, while our tech team is at work, because you guys are out here on stage, so we need all the tech support that we can get. But Abhishek, it's interesting because you are responsible for a virtual influencer. Everyone wants to become an influencer nowadays, but his team has come up with a virtual influencer with thousands of followers. My concern is how many people
Lakhs.
lakhs of followers. How many people actually fall for, these sort of influencers thinking this is the real thing?
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Ayush. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You can be a little louder.
Yeah.
Or we'll just make sure AI comes in with Adobe and pumps it up.
Yeah. So we have created India's first AI influencer called Naina. I mean, you can check her out on Instagram or YouTube. She has close to 400,000 followers on Instagram and more than 120K subscribers on YouTube. So at Avtr Meta Labs, what we realized initially, like a couple of years back, that AI is like magical, I mean, when it comes to storytelling. There are so many things which you couldn't do earlier, you thought, oh, wish I could do it. So I'll give you three things. First, you can create a tailor-made narrative. So you can create a persona as per your requirement. You identify a need gap, whether it's entertainment or information or any other, category. Then you create a persona right from face, voice, tonality, characteristics, whatever you want to. So you have a tailor-made persona, and this persona can be, used for multiple things. Second, they are polyglots. So the AI technology facilitates, you to make your character speaks in as many languages as you want to. And when it comes to mass communication, in India, we always struggle, taking Hindi or English content to regional, areas. Here, you can have one character, who can reach out to all India without any hassle. Thirdly, they are ageless, so they do not age. Therefore, you continue catering to a similar kind of audience. What happens with, actors or influencers is they age and then they start catering to a completely different subset. Here, you are catering to the same subset. And I can also have them, omnipresent. So I can have those characters present at more than one location. So there are multiple advantages we saw in the beginning. Now what we also see, it's a huge opportunity for Indians and Indian creators to take their content to the globe. Because with AI face swap, AI language translation and many more technology, it's very easy to create in certain production hubs and then cater multi-country. So there are a few companies I see who are already started catering to 230 countries using AI tools.
Okay. Now, you're no stranger to the thousands of followers, and another gentleman with us on stage is also very popular on Instagram for something that I learned about today. It's called Indo-futurism. Please ask Sana about that, because Indo-futurism is what you specialize in, and you are the artist who actually gets the followers. There's no AI there, at least in terms of that profile. That is managed by you, no matter how much AI you use.
Yeah.
So tell us more about it, and tell us a little bit about using AI to generate pieces and works of art.
First, thanks for having me here in this super historic venue. It's interesting to talk about something so futuristic in something so historic. So I have been using this new emergent medium of AI art for the past couple of years to do storytelling and like visual art in a few specific directions. Science fiction, horror, fantasy, anything kind of beyond the ordinary that's always been my interest growing up, and I didn't really see much of it in like Indian pop culture. And then sort of the unique power of AI to visualize seemingly impossible things while making them super real was to me like a big creative unlock. I realized that you can use these tools to almost have a parallel way to tell visual stories that don't need to take years and years to produce or a team of 100 people to do. So you can almost work as an individual artist, like, writers write books. Now individuals can do big, complex visual stories using these tools. And because I was very interested, one, in science fiction since I was a kid, but also being thrown into this world of where art and technology are meeting, you start thinking about more things, and specifically, what are the various aspects of how technology is going to affect life in India in the next few years. So a lot of thinking around, okay, where are we going, intersected with the art that I was trying to do, and I think that moment in time led to the sort of emergence of this genre that we now call Indo-futurism. I didn't coin the word. I've been lucky that I was early, so I think that gets associated with my work. But in a nutshell, it's storytelling or content or imagination about the future of India, or how India deals with the future, how India deals with technology, how India deals with changes in culture and society, in a time of accelerating change, of which AI technology is also a big part. Sorry, I don't know if I did a good job of that, but...
No, you did. You did a fantastic job. But what I want to understand is a lot of young people will be watching this on YouTube. Snippets of it will be publicized. and go viral on Instagram media that you are very used to. Fabin, very simple question. If I'm young, I'm talented, I understand prompt engineering, I understand how AI delivers output, does this make money? Can this be a career for me?
Yeah, maybe. So first of all, thank you for having me here. And just a quick introduction about myself. I'm an engineer turned designer turned artist from India, currently based out of Dubai. To answer your question, I really go back to the whole area of NFTs itself. I hope you, the person who raised his hand, has collected one of my works.
There's only one gentleman right there who's ever purchased an NFT. He's still proudly saying it.
Yeah. So to answer your question, really, yes, it is possible in this era to actually make monetary, make income out of your own generated images through just a prompt. But now the real question is that what you really want to do as an artist? Is that the baseline that you're keeping it, or are you going to build on top of that and make new avenues of expression? New avenues of creative expression. So that's the question we really ask. So in my own process, I kind of seep in all of these technologies into different areas, and I usually don't just generate an image. I use a mixture of a lot of pipelines together to generate a final output. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I'm going to put myself in the crosshairs there, because the old Indian proverb and the way they approach it here is obviously been bacha, doctor, lawyer, engineer banega. You did become an engineer, now you move to this side of it, right? So would you say that because you're using so much of code, you understand where exactly to use the AI, where to use the tech, right? There are parts of your art it's a good hybrid between just creativity and tech for you. So does it help that you are an engineer? So I'm guessing that is it's a safe space to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. To me, I call it creative technology, and there is also this whole domain of creative technologists outside, there's jobs and everything, but the advantage for me is to have an engineering background which includes both electronics and computer science. So I get to understand a lot of these things and to work with these things, but having said that, that doesn't mean that a person who is new to these technologies can't adopt it, as much as even how much I've explored. So it really is possible for everyone, is what I would say.
And Ayush, you would remember there was a time jab hum bolte the ki internet seekh lo, it's gone. So that's the same thing. We are in a nascent stage, and therefore there is a thing of learn prompt engineering, learn how to use AI, but very soon it will be mainstay.
I want to add one
Of course.
point. I think, today it's become so easy. Like, Rahul can also create an avatar for himself using Hagen, and it can become your, content assistant. So it's becoming very easy. I'm 100% sure that in a year's time, everybody, who is trying to create any form of content will have their own avatar. And those avatar will be able to talk in, multiple Indian languages as well. So suddenly you will start reaching out to much more people than what you are doing right now.
It's interesting, if you're coming up with AI avatars and AI-generated content, a lot of social media companies, which we'll touch upon in the next few sessions, require you to label it as AI-generated content. But Dipankar, I've seen some of your videos, and I hope we can show them to the audience in a bit. For the life of me, when I put my magnifying glasses on, I cannot tell that is AI-generated. That becomes a little bit of a cause for concern. And I'll tell you why, because I want to ask you about, what about intellectual property there, right? What if someone believes that these data sets that it was trained on is someone's invasion of privacy? One man's trash could be another man's treasure. How do you really walk the talk over there?
Yeah, great question. In fact, we pride ourselves in being a distribution-ready, IP-cleared content company, and we believe in ethical AI. And there are different layers and levels to how you achieve that. Number one is, it's a given that yes, LLM is trained on a massive data set of existing images. As a user of those tools, it's important that, number one, you don't reference, because when you're creating a new image, you can always reference it with an existing image. So you don't reference IP content, number one. Whatever is generated, so we have our own proprietary workflow which automatically reverse image searches and figures out if there is any clash anywhere across the internet, all right? And the other thing is...
This is all natively happening within Studio Blo.
It's part of our workflow. right? And the other thing that we are doing very interestingly is in the music video, I hope the audience gets to see it, there are real actors there, right? And so the two of them are pop stars, and one of them is a model actress. All of them have consent. We have their consent. And we are also very strictly bound by a document which says we can't reuse it beyond that project, right? And those are local data sets and not going back to the LLM. So,
yeah, I mean, my point of view is slightly different. I think after having like really thought about it for 2 years, because as an artist, you're confronting this question every day, right? The question of ownership and authorship. Otherwise, how can you call it your own, right? I think, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is obviously not legal advice, but in the principle of it, having thought about how these tools work and having used them, I think training is and should qualify as fair use, and it seems like just that's the consensus that's forming around the world. Because look, the fundamental difference is, and a big misconception that somehow still persists, is that when like a chat GPT is trained on something, or let's say I use an image tool called Midjourney, if it's trained on all of the visual information of the world and I am using it to create something, it is somehow grafting or collaging elements from various specific files in the data set, and hence you are in you're in risky territory IP-wise. I don't think that's the case. It's such a new technology that it'll take some time to translate. I'll give you an example. So let's say I want to use an app, the basicest of all AI image tools. We've all, even Instagram has it on its chatbot now to generate an image. So I want to generate an image of a cat on a skateboard, right? Now these tools work at like a conceptual level. This specific AI image model has learned or has been taught what a cat is. It's been taught what a skateboard is. And the innovation there is that it's able to blend concepts. So predictively, it can figure out what a cat on a skateboard might look like. But it's not actually picking up images of cats on skateboards because they might not exist, right? So it's a conceptual model that learns everything about the world, including visual information, and then based on how you guide it, creates what is a completely novel image. And here's the thing, even if either unintentionally or intentionally you use these tools to commit copyright infringement, law still exists. So for the example I like to use is, if I kind of copy a Disney character on Photoshop, or by illustrating it with my hand, or through an AI tool, doesn't matter, it's still a Disney character. I can't claim ownership on it based on the tool, and if I'm intending to commit copyright infringement, it's still copyright infringement. The tool almost doesn't matter. I think, so this is the one big communication challenge that all of the AI tools are still facing, for people to understand that it's not a collage machine, it's not a remix machine, it's a conceptual understanding of the world that the creators then use to create something completely original.
You put it really well there, but the reason I asked that is because when we cover technology, and when Sora was the talk of the town, Dipankar, and I want to understand where your product comes in with the difference. When the CTO of OpenAI, the company that runs ChatGPT, was quizzed in a television interview as to what are the data sets, where are these images and videos coming from? Are they trained on my social media? If I'm doing a dinner with my partner, or if I am celebrating my father's birthday, are these images eerily similar with a paintbrush effect? To which the CTO didn't have an answer, right? And I think that baffled a lot of us, worried a lot of us. So to come back to that, Dipankar, what you do is also very, very realistic. But then the difference there is that there's a huge element of human intervention. So it's humans plus AI that's making Studio Blo unique. Is that the right way to assess it?
Absolutely. We pride ourselves in being machine-made content. And I agree with Prateek, because he comes also from an artist's perspective, right? Think of graffiti artists, think of hip-hop artists who name names, name brands, sample across, right? And it's a unique creation, but we are completely into commercial content, and in commercial content, there is a challenge. If you reference somebody's style, it will be plagiarism, right? But I'm just coming back to his point.
Because I don't think styles, like literally in copyright law, you can't copyright a style. You can copyright an image, but
yeah,
I don't
think about the...
So for example, Disney can't copyright the Pixar style of animation, because I feel like, and they shouldn't, because that's very anti-artist, it's very anti-creativity, it's very anti-originality.
I mean, yeah, but like we worked with Disney, and they don't want any other style to
Yeah,
bring.
but I'm saying I don't think anyone should be able to copyright styles, because then where does it end, right? How do you then say that, okay, something you created is so similar to one movie 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I feel like that's as anyone who's a creator, I think we should be worried of styles being copyrightable, because one, they're always dynamic. Two, no one's style is created in isolation. The styles that emerged out of Disney were from so many inputs over so many years. So if you start, basically what I think is, if you start legislating inputs or in any creative process, then it just opens up a Pandora's box that I don't think is healthy. Because even as an individual, if I create something and intentionally or unintentionally it's similar to some style, someone can say, hey, but your input and your inspiration is now my copyright.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? That's a tricky territory.
Ayush, we are in the Napster era of AI content today.
Okay,
right?
I
We are in the
respectfully
Napster
disagree
era,
here.
and I think a lot of companies, including ours, are essentially working towards becoming the Spotify to kind of.
Yes. And in that meandering path from Napster, you go to Kazaa Lite, Aries Lite, and all the P2P LimeWire platforms that came and went.
Sorry, I have to make this one very small
Please, go
point.
for it.
I think both I appreciate the spirit of what you're saying, but I respectfully disagree. Sampling and again, Napster, they were discrete pieces of copyrighted content being redistributed as is. But more with AI, it's more like if I'm a young music producer,
Yeah.
and I say over the course of one summer, I'm going to listen to 10,000 hip hop songs and become a rapper.
Yeah.
That's what AI is. It's not like if I'm saying that I'm burning bootlegs of rap DVDs and selling them in Palika Bazaar. Yes, absolutely, that's illegal. But me listening to 100 great rap albums of all time and then making my own
Yes.
is not illegal. That's inspiration. And that's what's happening at much bigger scale. And the scale of it is what is kind of disruptive, which is why there's so much resistance to the idea of this is not a remix or collage machine, basically.
Okay, I'm loving how this is turning out to be a nice television debate. We love that here at the India Today group. But what I will want to show you now is that our tech and the tech gods are shining upon us. So I want to show the first video right behind us, and then we'll talk about it as well, because you need some visual cues as well. Can we have the first video, please?
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
है भीगा मौसम नमसी ठंडी आंधी लेकिन तुम नहीं हो तो मैं रो के भीगूं या भीग के रो फर्क किसे करता है
Okay. So the person who's responsible for this video sat on the edge over there. Dipankar, you're telling me are there real models being used here? What about the music? Are we infringing any IP? I'll have to inform my social media team right now, yeah?
No, that's Rochak Kohli, possibly a 52 million streams in the Spotify rap this year. That's his song. He's collaborating with the rapper Panther. So those are two real people whose faces have been used here, quite similar to how it's happening at his company. And the other model that you see, the astronaut, she goes to Mars and does some crazy stuff. She's also an actual model. Again, all consensual. Yeah.
Super. All right. The next cue, since we have 4 panelists, we need the second piece of content playing, and then I will ask the questions.
आपके लिए चैलेंज है मेरी तरफ से हम जेंजी है तो मैं कोई डायलॉग्स बोलूंगी आप भैया जी की तरह भोजपुरी में बताएंगे
ठीक है
ओके सो फर्स्ट इज आई लव माय न्यू स्नीकर्स
चपला बड़ा नीक लागे
नेक्स्ट इज आई स्लेड एट द पार्टी लास्ट नाइट
हाड़िए दिए पार्टी में हम
Okay, very quickly, we could pause that. Quick show of hands. How many of y'all would have consumed that as a normal video, like a Bollywood interview here at the India Today group? What if I told you that that was a virtual influencer created by the gentleman sitting right beside me? Abhishek, what on earth is happening there? Is that Naina? Because I follow her on Instagram.
So Naina is India's first AI superstar influencer. And the only one who is working with INB Ministry also. So we are part of the Create in India initiative where we are promoting skills to develop, AI avatars. So there is an AI avatar challenge which is being conducted. And the finale will happen at Bharat Mandapam, in Delhi, along with many other events. She is the only AI influencer who has created content with and, interviewed many celebrities like you saw Manoj Vajpayee ji over here. She can speak in, multiple languages. So, and the next step for her is to get on, TV and acting roles, which we are working on, which we are very close to getting on Big Boss. So that conversation keeps on going, but it hasn't materialized yet, but I see that happening, very, very soon. So we've started with this, but, the idea over here is to get into pure play long form content also, create fiction, and then, have your own, content channel, and then use various tools, language tools. You can create an all AI film also in future, because currently all these tools are very slow, to create a full-fledged 30-second, 40-second AI film takes a month, to be honest. So we follow a mix of traditional pipeline versus an AI pipeline. But, the future is huge. And AI will create a lot of, millionaires, billionaires coming out of India.
Okay, we've seen a couple of videos and something that can make you a millionaire or a billionaire or a crorepati. Can we see a still image as well? Okay. Fabin, have you got to put your hands up because this is looking like a work of art. Is this worth crores of rupees? And what's the story here? Where's the AI? Where's the tech?
All right, so I don't know if it is worth crores of rupees.
Not yet.
No,
Maybe.
Maybe. Hopefully. But the idea is really, I work in the area of art tech as well as touching on themes of philosophy and consciousness. So a lot of my work relates towards and presently relates towards subconscious imageries where I investigate dreams, mental images, mental visualization, etc. And I try to create 3D sculptures, AI-based generative code, and code-based art, etc. And all of this translates into a set of works which actually questions the larger questions, right? I feel consciousness is the final frontier for that matter. So why are we here? What is the purpose of all of this, etc.? So these are the kind of questions I ask in many of these, and there's a lot of relation to mental health also in some of these works. Just to point towards 3 things quickly.
Yes.
So we talked about AI influencers. Back in 2018, I created with a friend of mine an AI artist, which is autonomously creating art by itself and posting to Instagram. And it went into a collaboration with Microsoft and exhibited at Florence Biennale. But one interesting thing that came out of it was when we were about to exhibit it at Florence Biennale, they asked us, we kept the artist name as the AI artist name. They said, no, that's not possible. We want a human behind the artwork.
Okay.
Second thing, Dipankar talked about human-machine. So one of my explorations into human-machine, I called it human-machine imaginarium. It was an exploration into seeing what an LLM imagines. So when GPT-2 released, me and my wife, we in tandem asked GPT-2 to generate an image, what it imagines. And then we tried to paint it out and see how that translates into it. And finally, just a word on, I'm not talking about the legal part or the copyright part, but on how I approach copyright, or this is how, I don't know if I am the creator. I feel that creation just happens. And I feel that we are all standing on the shoulders of giants of the past. And so are we really releasing works which, we can claim a lot of ownership over?
Okay.
So the question really is, so I release most of my work as CC0, which is Creative Commons License 0, so that anyone can do anything with it, except, for FABC purposes. But that's the thing, right? Air is an open thing. It's for everyone.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Prateek, the last one comes to you while the image plays out over there. $1 million question, and the lawyers will get involved with this as well.
Right.
Marvel or DC? No, I'm just joking, seeing your shirt over there. But tell us more about Indo-futurism very quickly, and then we're going to open up to the audience for questions, so keep them ready. We're going to be coming to you shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, just growing up, I'm a child of the 90s. I was born in 1990. I saw all of this kind of Hollywood movie influence start. I used to watch like Independence Day and Terminator 2 like 6 times a month on Star Movies, etc. Ultimately, when I sort of came into Mumbai into the entertainment industry, there was a lot of genres that were like unexplored, right? But I wanted to tell. So for various structural reasons, I wasn't finding a way to make that as a movie or make that as a streaming series. I feel like with AI, and I think that's the theme for the creative arts, it's like an unlock, and it's like we're leapfrogging entire generations of evolution and being able to tell more interesting, more original, more unique, and more global stories much faster. And so Indo-futurism came out of that moment. And what's very exciting for me, because I felt it happen to me, is that this is going to be like a massive unlock for just the creative imagination of the country.
Right.
Once upon a time, if you wanted to tell a story, you had to move to one of the media cities. That changed with YouTube, that changed with Reels, and it's changed. Now with AI, it's going to get like supercharged. So imagine, right now, the YouTube business model only allows for a certain level of content production, because that's what you can make back. But in like 3 years, if teams of 5 kids in high school or after class or after college can make films that look as good as like a Marvel movie, that meaningfully changes it, right? So they don't have to move to Mumbai anymore. And I think that's great because, I mean, our industries haven't really been the most welcoming places for new talent of any kind. So I think this is going to create so many creators who will not want to wait for the gatekeepers, and they'll just create what they can. Their audiences will power them, and people will see that this is working, and then the gatekeepers will now come to them saying that, how do we work with you? I think that's a very good inversion that's much needed for our creative ecosystem. That's what I'm most excited about, and that's the impulse behind basically everything I do.
Fantastic answer. Marvel it is, though.
Marvel it is for now.
Open it up to the audience. Do we have any questions? With a quick show of hands, please raise your hand if you have a question. I have one right at the back. That's a very good sign. Straight there, up on the right. AI, art, intellectual property. What these guys are doing on video, multimedia. Please, do introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Puneet Arya. So I keep an interest in like the AI art. I have used ideogram as well. So my question is like, if we generate AI art, so is there a way that we can monetize it like while uploading it online based on maybe views or the number of sales, like any good platforms? Yeah.
So I think, firstly, you should participate in Create in India challenge. One of the categories where they're asking for entries is AI art installations. I think it will be a great platform for you to showcase your talent. And if you're selected, you can, we'll be there at the event in Delhi. So I think a lot of things will, open up for you. As far as monetization is concerned, let Dipankar answer that.
Yeah, I mean, we are hungry for people who are ready to do work. But on a better note, like Abhishek is also saying, sign up for Midjourney. Lots of Midjourney global competitions going on. Even, places like Fiverr, etc. They're all looking for AI prompters and artists.
And I think, look, I mean, I have been doing that for the past couple of years. Ultimately, think of it as any new creative medium. Rather than a gimmick to quickly monetize, I think that's where when something's new, you get excited. So, for example, I have exhibited my AI work at India Art Fair a couple of years. I've had a solo exhibition. I was at Art Mumbai last year. I've exhibited in Milan. But that has only happened when I started like working with a gallery who asked me really tough questions that, okay, the tool is okay. What are you trying to say with it, right? So like any medium, you have to ask yourself the question is that, why do this at all? If you had to become a filmmaker or a photographer or a painter. So once you find that, then there are like, either you can go down like working with brands, you can work as an artist, you can use it to create videos and then tell stories on YouTube, you can create digital avatars. But ultimately first ask yourself why you want to do this. The money is like, if you do it well, it'll follow, basically.
Fabin?
And finally, the mediums. You can sell it as prints, you can sell it as brand collaborations, NFTs, a lot of mediums out there in which you can monetize your work.
Okay, you mentioned India Art Fair. It's very fascinating that should be an arts exhibition, but all the installations have been tech and auto for the last couple of years. I've seen people using iPads and all the art that they come up with. Is that stuff that you're also actively working on?
So India Art Fair is interesting because I think it has all of the classics and the masters, but obviously because I like that space and that kind of energy because they've got all your Hussains, but they also have like what's happening in the new wave. I don't think the full festival is about tech, but they've been friendly to newer kinds of mediums, including digital mediums. I think Apple has a pavilion there which supports new artists. I work with a gallery called Photo Inc. and they're a sort of really like legendary photography gallery. So it was interesting for them and hence for me, they said, look, what you're doing is maybe an evolution of photography because it's a photorealistic image, but it's not real. So it was a very interesting reaction, and not everyone was like, loved it, because they were like, you got all these legendary photographers, then there's something which is not a photograph. So it was very challenging for like a lot of old school people to see that. But I think that's why these fairs are important, because new ideas can then enter that conversation of like fine art, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that.
We have one more question very quickly. If we could go to the gentleman in the center. There's another one if we have, you have a microphone.
So guys, my name is Bhavik Dangarwala, and this is regarding intellectual property. You said about old school. I come from old school, right? So we are talking of a period when there was no Data Protection Act. There was no data privacy. There was no data loss prevention. What I want to ask you guys is, do you guys see anything relevant in terms of recovery of old data or value or intellectual property for the period when no such acts or no such tools were there for data loss prevention? Do you guys, I mean, this is just out of the blue, but this is a genuine question. There'll be a lot of people, you know, who would be having valuable data of that period, and there was no way, you know, we were protecting it. So any answers, please?
Yeah, a lot of work happening in that direction. 3 types. Type 1 being restoration of old archival content, images and video. The second being recreation or re-dramatization of incidents, anecdotes, historical events for which there has been no documentary evidence, including assassinations, including court cases, etc. And the third definitely is, you know, you have old family, you have ancestors, you have old properties that you want to reimagine and bring back to life. AI is doing a very good job in kind of doing that.
So allow me to rephrase my question a little bit. What I'm trying to say is, in those days, there was no audit trail. Okay? So if you lost your data in some way, through the network or through a drive or whatever way, there was no way of having an audit trail or knowing, but except for knowing that, look, this is some content which is being used somewhere else. So do you guys see anything in that? There was no audit trail. There is no way to prove, right? So is that something that happens, or you guys have seen it happen at other places? Any ideas, any thoughts?
Yeah.
Very quickly, one last one.
Yeah, there is something called the Internet Archive. I think it archives a copy of all websites over a period of many, many years, and it keeps an archive of this. And it's essentially snapshots. So I think that might be one place we could explore.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Thank you so much for being a lovely audience, and thank you for being the creative powerhouses that you are. A huge round of applause for the most artistic session of our evening. Thank you so much.